afternoon to one and all present here. I welcome you for the afternoon session on day 2 of 2 days National Workshop on Trends in Cybersecurity, which is organized by Internal Quality Assurance SAIL and Department of Information Technology of Rajiv Gandhi Institute of Technology in association with Squad Infotech Private Limited. As we all know, Mr. Shomil has given a very good talk on cybersecurity in the current world with respect to framework based on NIST and cyber kill chain in his last session. It was a wonderful, informative and well knowledgeable session, sir. Thank you. Before I ask Mr. Shomil to start his session, I would like to inform all participants, as this is the last session of our workshop, the link for feedback form and quiz will be shared on Telegram group after the session. Kindly fill the feedback form and submit the quiz. Now I request Mr. Shomil to start the hands-on session with adaptive technology and lateral movement attack mechanism. Over to you, Mr. Shomil.
Thank you. Okay. So I'm going to start from where we stopped, right? So my major concern, what we talked about this morning was we had a session is basically on what are the threats, what is vulnerability, what is the risk, what is how do you persist risk, what are the things which always moving inside your network, whether it is safe, what need to be accessed, how it need to be protected. Then we went to an equation called as risk is equal to vulnerability into threats, right? So after a morning session, we came to know that majorly the people the attack happens is because there is an insider threat. So I would like to share one video. Basically, it's a case study video, which is a real-time case study video about an attack which happened. It started with a phishing attack from an inside. It started a kind of lack of awareness from an insider, which led to a cyber warfare. So cyber warfare is nothing but damaging any kind of country's assets. So how an insider made a mistake and what was the effect of it, that I would like to share it to you. So please just playing this video. Thank you.
Lights Out, Ivano Frankivsk, how a whole region was powerless in the face of an organized cyber attack. Western Ukraine, 6 months to lights out. A worker at a Ukrainian power company received, interesting, what's this? There's a malicious Word document attached. When clicked, a pop-up requests that macros are enabled. Workers across 3 different power companies receive the emails. Computers across the region are infected by a malicious program. They click on the attachment and follow the prompts to enable macros, allowing a highly organized team of hackers to perform long-term, long-distance reconnaissance. 3 months to lights out. Excellent, there are plenty of orphaned accounts. I love it when they're not deleted. It's so much easier to go unnoticed. The hackers get to know the power company's systems like the back of their menacing hands. Network infiltrated. We're in! Workers put longer logon times down due to maintenance when really it was the hackers tooling around undetected. Workers' credentials, including those used to remotely log into the SCADA network, are harvested. Time to write some apocalyptic firmware. 5 minutes to lights out. A worker at a control center in one of the power companies is nearing the end of his shift. He notices the cursor on his computer moving across his screen on its own accord. What's happening? And watches in horror as it navigates towards the circuit breaker controls and takes a substation offline. This was a highly coordinated attack. What's going on? The power went down in hundreds of thousands of premises across the region. More than 230,000 premises without power. And not just in residential buildings. The hackers also disabled backup power supplies to distribution centers, leaving operators without power. It's not working, Pavel. I just don't understand. Even the backups are down. Hello? Minutes before the substations are taken out, phone systems are flooded by bogus calls to prevent legitimate callers from reporting outages. Is anyone there? Hello? Hello? Log back in now. We need to regain control. It won't even reboot. Access denied. The hackers change passwords and malware overwrites master records, so the computers can't even reboot. The firmware has been overwritten on operational assets. We can't fix them. We'll need to scrap them all. Boxing Day 2015. Lights out for 2 days. Will this ever end? Lights out, Ivano-Frankivsk. Lights out for 2 months. 2 months after the attack, although much of the region was back online, the control centers were still not fully operational. Stay vigilant, stay safe. The control systems in Ukraine were more secure than some in the USA. Don't assume it won't happen. Contact National Grid's Digital Risk and Security Team for more information at cyberresponse@nationalgrid.com.
Okay, so the reason why showing you this video was it all started with basically just by clicking a phishing mail or an unwanted email from an insider person. Because he was an insider person, he was, firewall didn't check him, nothing, and that led to a 2 months of no electricity, not even in the residential premises, but also in the hospitals, but also in the various public transportation services also. So this is what an insider attack may do, and this is what the threat it may bring either to a personal individual, to its, like as a 5-sec operation we saw, to the individual, to people, to surrounding, to the organization, or to the country. So this was basically a small video. So what does an adaptive defense framework should have? So first, as I said, it is visibility, which should be implemented across the organization, unparalleled across the entire organization, providing details of network architecture and communication. So whether it is your branch office, whether it is your extended center, whether it is your main office or where your data center is, right, you should be able to get visibility of the entire network at single screen, or it should be visible of what is happening and what is going on into the network. It should give you a logs. It should give you a details of real-time threat landscape. It should give you a summary of what port was open, what was the services is open. So for example, if somebody is using 23 port number which belongs to telnet and try to enter it, but telnet should not be open in your network. So here you can have a reference of whether the telnet was open or, so you should have an attack surface summary for that. Again, it should have detecting of missing assets. Now take an example, there was an employee who left the organization, but still his credentials are active. So I was a part of an organization, I left the organization, but still those credentials are active. So tomorrow I may be like a legitimate user, I may go inside, I can view that things and become an active hacker user inside the pod. So again, it should be LLMR. LLMR is link layer multi-network routing protocol. It's basically a Windows protocol or inbuilt protocol which does the DNS statistics. Like for the printer address, what you search on your machine, right? It is nothing but it is done. The conversion is done with the help of LLMR protocol. So there are various stages. So first stage we saw visibility. Second stage we saw is basically what it may be data harvesting by the hacker, whether it is credential, it is in ARP or it is in network or whatever. Then third stage is getting proper elimination. You should eliminate any kind of threat which is happening in that particular network. So eliminating is basically taking a countermeasure of any threat detected. So what is to be done? We have to stop them at the lateral movement. At the lateral movement. So I'll just share a practical approach to it. Let's have a practical view so it may have a better understanding. So what I'm doing is I'm logging into my adaptive technology software, Ridgeback software. And I'm going to run a command called as rbscan. So this will, what will happen, it will run a scan on my particular thing. At the next part, it will give me this particular browser where I can see all the incidents reporting systems. Now, as I said, any lateral movement to stop, it is very important to have a network graph. It is very important to have a network view. So this is basically my real-time view, a real-time view which is happening. So I will unfreeze this. You can see that connections are moving. So this was a threat which was detected. What I'll do is I'll show you right now is number of IPs which are there in my network. To do that, I'll go to report and I'll go to assets inventory. So the IP which you are seeing here are the only list of IPs which are there, which are active currently in my network. So you said 192.168.0.105, 109, 110, and 116 are the active threads which are there. Now what I'll do is I'll go to my command prompt. Like for example, consider that I have clicked on some of the malicious mail and the hacker have come inside my machine. What he will do is he will do an ARP scanning and he will know that what are the list of IPs which are there. Now remember, I have a firewall installed in my network, but still I can see the list as in the morning I was saying, you can see still the list of all the IPs which are there in your network. You can still get the information of what are there in your network, and that becomes a reconnaissance information, that becomes a particular entry point information for a hacker. Now I'll ping to any of the machine which does not exist in my network. So how my product will detect or how my adaptive security will detect. So I'll say ping 192.168.0.200. Now remember, there is no .200 in my network. So I said ping. But remember, I am getting a reply. Now where does this reply come from? This reply comes from my adaptive security part. And there is no such machine like 200. So as a hacker, what I'll come to know, okay, I have pinged to 200, I am getting a reply. So a normal sense of a hacker is what? If you are able to ping, you are getting a reply, that means that machine is active and I can hack that machine. But practically now when you go onto the network graph, you'll see one more thread which has been activated. So there is no 200 and now my thread has been activated and I can see that. Can you see that? And if you go to incidents, I'll be able to see the data in it. So remember, there is no .200 machine in my network. Still, I am able to gain access. I am able to run the access, and I'll do the RB scanning once again so that I get an extreme on data. Remember, this is live and this is on the live machine. I have created a virtual machine specially for this, and I'll be able to, restrict and detect that particular intruder in my system. Here you go. So this will give me an information from which machine it was able to ping. Why it is showing 109? It's because my machine is 109. And that is the reason why it is showing red in 109. So this will give you a clear idea of what happened is somebody from machine number 109 was accessing a machine which does not exist, or he's trying to do a lateral movement. And this logs would be shared to the entire my EDS or my firewall or my SIEM system. I can share those logs. I can share on the time base, whether it is last 30 minutes, last 1 hour, last 4 hours, 8 hours, 12 hours, 24 hours, 48 hours, and 96 hours. Why these logs are important is basically it will give a clear idea of whether any forensic activity which I need to do. So it will give me a clear idea of it. So plus it will give me an idea of open ports. So I have a port number 135 open, 139 open, 445 open, 3389 open, and 5357 open. So for example, as a forensic investigator, if there is a term like I don't want this port to open and still it is showing me open, that means there is some kind of malicious activity, some kind of abnormal activity is happening in my network. So what I have to do is simple. I have to go on incident, right? I click on this. There are two options. Either I can isolate automatically the moment it heads the thread, or I can isolate on manually also after reading the logs. Because sometimes what happens, this kind of activity is sometimes because of misconfiguration also. So it's better to review the activity once, and then what I can do is I can click on countermeasure and I can say isolate the host. Now what will happen is that host from where the hacker is trying to ping other machines will get isolated from the network, and the user as well as the hacker will not even come to know that he's isolated. Currently I cannot isolate it, otherwise I will be out of the network and I will be, it will be on the standalone part. So though I'm connected to the network, I will not be allowed to access internet, I will not be allowed to access the LAN network. I'll be completely isolated from the entire network. Now what is the advantage of this isolation is, for example, as I say, the hacker came. He started pinging from my machine to other machines, checking whether that machine is available. He got a reply, but it was not a reply given by a machine. It was a reply given by my software, my adaptive security, which is in place, and just confusing the hacker, giving the wrong information to the hacker so that his further movements are disturbed or it is not as per the criteria. So what will happen in this? He is pinging. So moment he pings, it will, if it is in the automatic isolation, that machine will be out of the network. So he will not gain access to the critical assets. He will not move forward in the network. And I have stopped that particular hacker at the reconcile stage. And I have done a protection arena, or I have detected at the very early stage based on the cyber kill chain and the NIST framework. What other things I can do is, once I have isolated it, I can go through the logs. I can download those logs in the CSV format, and then whether to know whether it's a regular activity or not. You can see that it was an ARP done on 192.168.0.200. I can get those reports of segment summary. What are the things? 0.16 was my segment. So which network he attacked, that level information also I can get on that particular thing. What was the threat? Yes, see, 192.168.0. From that was threat address was 109, phantom address was 0.200. Pressure was 1 because he just did ping. He didn't do RDP, neither he did telnet. So this was basically 192.168.0.200 was my target machine. So here I'll be able to get all the information of what a hacker is trying to do from a machine which he has gained access via phishing, and whether I want to stop him or whether I want to access of him. So I have just customized it. If I do last 12 hours, I'll be getting more results. If I just do last 30 minutes, so it will show me only the results of the activities which has happened on the last 30 minutes. So my hacked machine was 109, which is my machine. So he entered into my machine, and from my machine, he tried to ping to 200. So I created a phantom, or you can call it as a landmine. Like in today's session, we saw creating a landmine is important. So I created a landmine. So the moment he had that landmine, it got busted, and this machine got isolated from the network. So this is basically a particular advantage of this is to stop the lateral movement, not share the information to the hacker. Either don't give him an information, or don't give him an information which is not basically a false information, or which is not helpful to him. Still, what I can do in this is I can enter many bogus MAC addresses. Now, as we all know that MAC address first two octets represents the manufacturer part. So what happens is sometimes hackers are so good and so well developed in designing a script of the code that from the MAC address, they take out the make. So for example, 0800 may be Dell, another. So you can get entire list of MAC address make in on the internet. So if I put the bogus MAC address, what happens is when the hacker is trying to access, or when hacker is trying to access any kind of IP, he will get a wrong MAC address. That means the script which he will design will be depending on that MAC address, which does not exist on my network, which has no resemblance on my network, and it's just a false information which I'm sharing to the hacker, just restricting on any kind of damage, any kind of problems, or any kind of threat moving across my network. So this is basically an full kind of adaptive technology which is there. It can be time bound to view the reports. It can be filtered. You can just filter a particular IP. So for example, if I say 192.168, so I just get the information of those. So if there are huge networks and we want to more bifurcate, filter only on this part, so it would be more onto that particular technology. So this is basically an overview of what a lateral movement can do, plus how we can restrict a hacker by giving them a wrong information or no information at all, and then uh, uh, giving a damage to his further plans, giving a damage or restricting to his further plans to go and access the network. Basically, what are the most important part is this. Here we have an idea of and summary of the machine from where the attack happened. So 192.168.0.109, it is my machine where the hacker entered and tried to ping 192.168.0.200. What happened is this. This is an attack surface summary and overview of all the open ports which are there in my network, which should not be there. I should not allow open ports to be there in my network. So this is again a cross check or again a risk assessment for me to understand whether 192.168.0.109 should have this list of port open. If not, then why they are open? It should be closed immediately. It should be taken care immediately. And this information should be given to your firewall. Okay, boss, this is the IP, close those ports immediately. So that's why I say now only your peripheral security will not come into the picture because the attacks are more sophisticated, more thorough, and more precise with assets management. Coming to again, it's basically, I can click on this, I can know the threats, there are some hosts, so I can get an entire network visibility. And if I want to again turn into the real time, I can just unfreeze it. You can see this networks are moving, but everything you can see, this is a normal machine, this is a normal machine, this is a normal machine, this is a normal machine. That means if the color code is gray, you will not see any kind of threat activity happening on that. You consider a difference, like this is a red one and remaining all a gray one. So color combination itself says that there is some problem with machine 109 which needs to be attended on immediate basis. Now, as you say, this is my current small setup which I made especially for this presentation. So I'm able to see very less machines. But there are chances that there may be more machines. There may be entire branch, including your head office and everything. So every information will be shared over here, including the alerts would be given to you. There are email alerts also, where any kind of such threat happening, immediately you will receive a mail. Consider that there was a red alert generated, there was a threat generated, and you need to attend it immediately. And there are two provisions or two basically methods we can do is basically click on this and you go to countermeasure. So I can say isolate host. There are two ways. Either you can put a setting like that, that isolate the host automatically. So in that, what will happen? The moment 109 tries to ping to a machine which does not exist, it will automatically isolate itself. Or you can have a manual isolation also. So what we'll do in manual isolation, you have to go manually on the countermeasure, click on isolate host and click on apply. So this will remove this machine out of the network, just making secure remaining of your machines clear. Now in that, everything is solved. You thought that it's just a misconfiguration which happened and it's not a threat. So you can go to resolve and just say threat cleared. So it will clear it from the thread. So you will not see any more threat on that. And you can see on the resolve thread. So now again that machine is back into the network and it is same as used, and it is a normal machine which is like accessing with everybody. So this is what an adaptive technology is all about. This is what basically a hands-on is all about. And the most important factor in this is, one is the incidents which takes place. Second is the network graph, where you are able to get a real-time visibility, where you are able to get a real-time part in the same. And above and all, for the forensic part, you require these logs. So whether it's basically a right thing or wrong thing, you need to know. You can even filter these logs by precise IP or precise event that can be done. So this is basically a logs report which needs to be shared for commercial, for compliance purpose, for audit purpose, as well as for knowing the misconfiguration and what exactly happened in the system. There are reports also, like you can say attack surface matrix also. So this is basically 192.168. What are the ports and which services they use? So you have a report of all those particular port-wise services which was being used. So which port, what services they are using? Again, it's basically a eye opener whether it should be allowed or it should be not allowed. So basically, as always in my session, I say you should know what should be allowed, what should not be allowed. Second, what should be clicked, what should not be clicked, and the foremost, never ever open any kind of suspicious link which you feel it is not from the authorized vendor. So this is a small run through hands-on of my of an adaptive technology and how to stop a lateral movement. Coming back to the presentation, so just we saw was the elimination by isolating the host, taking the countermeasure, hostile environment, destroy injection via ARP and all. And this is how it's the same thing. There is a phantom created for this host, and this phantom is nothing but a 0.200 machine, which we did it. So coming to that, there is another layer which always you should be there. One is the policy based. So this what we do is a real time based, and second is a policy based. So there is a MAC based policy, subnet policy, port based policy, and time based policy. For example, I have my education college running from morning 9 to evening 7. So after that, there are some machines which does not operate till the next working hours. So what should I do? I should select a time based policy. So in case if somebody is hitting a machine from 9 to 6, allow after 6 any kind of activity happening on that machine, just isolate it and create an alert for that. So these are some, policy based, subnet based, port based, and MAC based policies which are part of the adaptive technology. So this is just an presentation view of what actually on the hands-on thing which I showed it to you, right? So this is an example of one of the enterprise where we did an active when we did active reconnaissance, and we saw that somebody in the system was running a software called as IP scanner. So what will happen? The IP scanner will allow you to, he will get a reply and show all the active IPs. But on the graph, you will see that these are the phantoms which are created because they don't exist in the machine, and somebody is trying to get the information about the network. Somebody is trying to do the lateral movement. Somebody is trying to do the reconnaissance part. And that is the reason why these phantoms are being generated, and an alert has been given to the cybersecurity team, to the IT team for getting a proper action, whether to manually isolate that machine or to get an automatic isolation in the system, thus preventing them to reach the assets, to reach the main servers, and to get any financial or damage or any kind of loss to the data, and thus restricting ourselves on that stage itself. So as I said, some facts, there are 34% of data breaches involved by internal actors, right? And this is a survey done. Yes, there are 34% of data breaches involved by an internal actor. Now, why I said this internal actors, 35% of the breaches, majorly people either intentionally or unintentionally do some kind of activity which they should not supposed to. And as we saw in a video, he was curious to know, wow, what is this? So sometimes the curiosity factor inside the user makes them hit that particular email, makes them click on that particular link, leading to the further damage, further destruction in the network. So understand that insider actor is not an hacker. To be precise, I wanted to make it sure. Sometimes it is his curiosity which makes him click. Sometimes it is lack of awareness which makes him click, or very less percentage do purposely to take revenge, right? But majorly those data breaches are from either a person is not knowledgeable, he is not aware about that security awareness. Second, he is not that trained enough to know what to click, what to not. And third, and very important, he may be curious to go and click on it, just inviting the further damage for the organization. So so you cannot protect what you can't see, and that is why network visibility leads to the better security and is one of the major pillar. It is one of the major chunk, and it is one of the most important factor in today's world. There are some facts also which we say, as we saw in our software hands-on, that there are either only two types of companies: those who has been hacked and those that will be hacked. So there is no other difference, like one which is hacked, another which can be hacked. Now, what do you mean by those who have been hacked? Thus, they don't have any gateway security. Does they don't have any peripheral security? They do have, but sometimes a lack of information, lack of awareness, and too much faith. Like in the video, it is said it is not sure that it will not happen again. Is basically an overconfidence we show it in a cybersecurity. We do click on many things which we are not supposed to, and that may lead to a big the company being hacked, or we give a preparation or a red carpet to a hacker to welcome that call. So firewalls and endpoint protection tools won't prevent cybersecurity breaches. Post breach lateral malicious movements either on IT or OT network is the biggest danger, and that's why we call it is more sophisticated, more educated way of attack, and it is more precisely on uh, targeted customer rather than open for all customers. So I just wanted to give some small information also related to the personal hygiene also, because nowadays as we are maintaining the hygiene for ourselves, at the same time we need to maintain the hygiene for us, our digital life also, because we know as we are connected we are everywhere in that. Beware of such kind of scams, SMS which you are getting, which you are clicking. Please beware. Like nowadays, it's a season of an IT returns or something, so you may get a you may
जे
get
लीडर
a
लोक चांगले होते आम्हाला त्या लोकांना चांगले त्याच्यात मी त्याच्यात पाणी टाकतो.
I request participant to please stay muted.
So this are I would show some kind of SMSs like payment. Like this is the most common thing which is happening. So like the payment wallet has been blocked, and people like more on the fear part and lack of knowledge. They click on the link, and finally they came to know that their Paytm account is wiped off. So this is precisely done by some of your trained hackers who gets information from your Facebook, from your social linkings and everything. So there are some scams which like COVID-19. So somebody says you have received a message saying you get tested and there is some person found tested in your area. So click on this. So it's a fear. It's a fear when you click on it. So just don't get fear. Just think on it whether it's right from the right sources or not. Second, this is my personal. This is personally I received a mail saying that your TDS payment has been declined and 66,000 has been debited. Kindly find. So as a user, as a layman, what I will do, I will go and click, oh God, it's my 66,000 rupees gone. So immediately I click on this download your GST challan, and I will share the information. But nobody knows that it is coming from whom, whether it is Reserve Bank of India. So remember, Reserve Bank of India, why they will send me from a website which is from a 2018 part, right? So basically, it is a sabotage. It is a trap. Don't fall on the trap. Always remember, whenever you received a mail, check to and from where it is coming and why it is coming, right? And whether it's a valid email or not. And once again, confirm it with the concerned department whether it is a valid or not, or some kind of freebies. Like in between, in last year, it was like an Air India giving free tickets, right, to many of us. So I don't know why Air India will give free tickets, right? Never, never. So this is some kind of traps which we need to avoid. Some of the fraud which we need to take care. It's just by our cybersecurity hygiene. It's by our own thinking. We can protect it. We can prevent it and have a great digital life for your organization, for your personal life, and wherever you belong to. So that's my side, my hands-on part of that. So would love to hear the questions from your side. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for such an informative session. It's really a knowledge gaining session. Sir, there are few questions from the participants. So can I ask you a few of them?
Yes, please.
Yeah. one of our participants, Dr. Likesh Kulle from Terna College of Engineering, Mumbai, want to ask you one question. So I request Dr. Likesh to unmute yourself and start the video. Sir, you can now
Thank
ask
you, Abhay
questions.
sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, Abhay sir. Good afternoon, sir. Thank you very much for such an excellent and wonderful session. Recently, I have experienced similar attack on my website as you have explained. So my question is, can we use honeypot to prevent lateral movement attack? And how to use reachback tool for website to prevent such attacks?
Sir, honeypot is absolutely a different part. Honeypot is basically what you do is you create a replica of your network. So it's a resources, additional resources what you do. In like a kind of a reachback tool, what you can do is it's a real time. It's real time. It's kind of, what is going on you are seeing. You are not giving any additional resources to it. Okay, considering a phishing attacks has two technologies. One, whether it was an insider person who clicked it or whether it was an outsider. So outsider, it's a big world. You cannot protect what is going on outside, and cyber defense is a very, very vast part. So anything which is outside is still, you cannot be 100% sure to protect. But yes, for the insider part, if somebody has clicked on that phishing website and then something has been malicious has been installed in your particular environment, what will happen is you can have a track of your entire network visibility. You can track what is happening in your network, and if that from that machine is somebody is trying to move ahead in your network, like for example, you must be having some exam servers, you must be having some important servers where your staff data is stored, or your payroll information, your account information, or such thing is stored. So what you can do is you can protect them, you can restrict them with the help of that particular thing. So you know what is happening, you can isolate that machine, and this make your remaining machines more secure and more efficient to operate in the network.
Yeah, thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Lokesh, sir. There is one more question from Pranav Menon. Question is, what is the reason behind the website of Reachback showing not secure protocol?
Because this is the reason showing not secure protocol is basically it's a demo part. So I have to install a license certificate, which I don't want to right now because it's just for the demo purpose. But yes, definitely it is because relating to it is going in depth of your network visibility, and we know what is happening. So that's why it is showing non-secure protocol.
Okay, sir. There is one more question, sir. What if the intruder gets access to the logs? Can those logs get changed?
Okay, so that's what. So intruder gets access to a logs, which if you are following your lateral movement technology very precisely and clearly, so there are very rare chances that your lateral logs. See, normally it's a trend that you save the logs on the server or in a secure premises, right? So no secure server has a direct access to the internet. They are part of the intranet or they are part of the internal network. So what will happen is if he has to reach to the logs, he has to provide a lateral movement to it. So the moment he starts the lateral movement, the adaptive technology in current scenarios in today's world will restrict it and isolate the machine, just making him restricted to follow and to go to the next machine to reach the log server.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much, Mr. Somil, for answering all the queries.
Thank you.
Now I will hand over to Dr. Sunil Wankhede, sir. Sir will take it from here for the online feedback from the participant. Over to Dr. Sunil Wankhede, sir.
Good afternoon, everybody. I would like to take the feedback of this workshop from some of the participants, and I would like to ask to give some suggestions for the improvement if we take such feedback or some webinar series in the future. So I request them to give some suggestions for the improvement. So first of all, I would like to ask Dr. Nilesh Patil. He's from Father Agnel College of Engineering, Bandra, Mumbai, to say about this workshop. Over to Professor Nilesh Patil.
Okay, thank you, sir. I would like to congratulate the organizing team IQAC and Department of Information Technology for
Patil sir,
successful.
please on your video.
Okay, okay. Sir. Okay.
Yeah.
I would like to congratulate the organizing team, IQAC and Department of Information Technology for successful conduction of this 2 days national workshop on trends in cybersecurity, one of the thrust area in the field of security and engineering. Thanks to Mr. Hasanul Sanup for giving us insightful knowledge on what cybersecurity is and what are the different types of threats. We live in the era of digitization, where we try to ease our life by just relying on automated appliances and applications. However, with this luxury, we also put our life vulnerable to different threats. Mr. Hasanul gave very good example of how intruders or hackers can use just a beam of laser light to change the commands programmed in automated devices. Hats off to Mr. Saumil Khandadia. What a knowledge in the field of cybersecurity. Starting with the relation between threat, vulnerability, and risk, put light on how traditional security is breached consistently. Well explained NIST cybersecurity framework explained how during this pandemic period, people trying to seek help from banking sector, healthcare, and insurance sector can also get exposed to different attacks via lateral movement. Very good hands-on for lateral movement attack. I truly enjoyed this 2 days workshop and gained insightful knowledge on cybersecurity. Looking forward for such workshops in near future. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Patil, for your positive and valuable comments about
Welcome,
the
sir.
workshop. Okay, thank you. So now I request Dr. Kishore Kolle, who is from MIT World Peace University, Pune, and he wants to share his experiences during this 2 days workshop. Over to Dr. Kishore Kolle. Kishore Kolle, sir. Ankush, sir. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Oh.
Dr. Kishore.
I think he is not reachable.
Okay.
I think he's out of the room.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. So shall I move forward?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So in my concluding remarks, I would say this workshop provided a platform to learn, update, and exchange a lot of information during these 2 days. Session on both the days of the eminent speaker, Mr. Hasanul and Mr. Saumil, were very informative and interesting. The participants really enjoyed their presentations during these 2 days. I hope during these 2 days, several important insights were accomplished through this workshop. One of the takeaways from this workshop that I can say, use our electronics gadgets and operate our social media accounts very carefully. Take the time to gain at least basic knowledge about security and ensure over our security in the cyber world. As we are more and more reliant on technology in our world each day, we need to take precautions and look for stronger solutions to ensure cyber security for everyone. So I would like to thank all of you here for making this workshop a success throughout your valuable contribution and active participation. Thank you all the participants. Thank you very much. I would like to thank our own RGIT staff for ongoing organizing this event and ensuring it ran so smoothly both the days. Participants, please note, feedback and quiz links are shared to you on Telegram group. You need to fill the feedback form and attempt a quiz. This is a mandatory requirement to get e-certificate. You will receive e-certificate on your registered email within 8 to 10 days. As we bring this workshop to a close, after vote of thanks, there will be a national anthem And after national anthem is over, host will close this session. Over to Professor Nilesh Rathod sir for vote of thanks.
Thank you, sir. Honorable Chief Patron, respected Principal, estimated Head of Departments, admirable resource person, and our most valued attendees, ladies and gentlemen. It's my privilege to have been asked to propose a vote of thanks on this occasion. I, on behalf of Mandra Charitable Trust, Rajiv Gandhi Institute of Technology, and the entire organizing committee, and on my own behalf, extended a very hearty vote of thanks to each and everyone gathered here. I, on behalf of whole fraternity of our college, propose my most sincere thanks to the eminent speaker, Mr. Hasinul Sanyug, cybersecurity consultant, and Mr. Somil Khandadia, cybersecurity analyst at Ridgeback Network Defense, for taking out time from their busy schedule and gracing the occasion with their warm presence. It's indeed a great honor of our college to have welcomed such a prominent speaker who are known of their contribution in their respective field of research. First and foremost, I want to thank Mr. Manish Jha and Mr. JP Raut from Squad Infotech Private Limited for agreeing to be a formidable component of this workshop. I offer my sincere gratitude towards our Honorable Principal, Dr. Sanjay Bokade, for his continued support throughout the preparation of this event. I also sincerely extend the same worth of gratitude. Thanks the Head of Information Technology Department and IQAC Coordinator, Dr. Sunil Wankhede, for their continued support at every stage of organizing this event. I must thank all the participants who have made time out their busy schedule to attend this workshop. I also thank all the head of departments, teaching and non-teaching staff of their appreciated effort in organizing this event. I would like to also thank the staff of Information Technology Department for their valuable help throughout this event. I cannot thank everyone enough to their involvement, their willingness to take on the completion of the tasks behind their comfort zone. If there is anyone, I assure you my gratitude extends to you as well. With this, I now close my speech and wish everyone success and good health. Thanks to switch off their videos and rise for the national anthem.
जन गण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य